Hello, everyone. Welcome to Full-On, your Fulham-centric football podcast. Today, I'm joined by AJ and Mozza. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, very good.
Very good.
Positive episode to start the week with. Lovely, nice 3 points at home against Leicester on Saturday. It was a decent game to watch. It was a decent game to be at. Uh, I think we've got quite a few positives to talk about. I don't think there's much in terms of negatives to talk about in the game. There wasn't loads of controversy or anything that happened in it. There was the offside goal that wasn't offside, and we'll come to that when we talk about the game. But overall, I just want to get your feelings about the game and the squad. AJ, looking at the game, how do you feel as a whole after the result?
Positive result, showed clear intention. We were clearly dominant for large portions of the game, although we did take our foot off the gas at times. But that happens. You can't be expected to press with the intensity we were pressing for a full 90 minutes. So that's just give and take with football. But I was very pleasantly surprised with how we worked our sort of midfield using Lukic as an anchor man and a deep lying playmaker. It was very impressive to see the team control a game in the manner that they did, especially without the typical controlling players like Kenny absent from the starting 11. I was also pleasantly surprised by the likes of Traore, who's started a couple of games for us now and has looked very dangerous very early on. Seems to peter out later on in games, but maybe that's just a fitness issue. I don't know. But yeah, all in all, very happy boy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the thing with we mentioned it last week. Obviously, you weren't here, so you weren't a part of the conversation. I think Traore is almost like a new signing for us. I know he came in last year with quite a few fitness issues. Couldn't quite get fit enough to get in that starting 11. And I know he's a different beast when he comes off the bench, especially when he comes on. He runs at tired defenses, but the last couple of games have been very impressed with his start. And I thought Lukic yesterday was outstanding. I thought he played really, really well. Mozza, I want to know sort of how you feel about the game as well. Positive result, positive feeling. How are you feeling?
Yeah, very positive. First game back at the cottage, it couldn't really ask for more to get 3 points. Shame we didn't keep a clean sheet, but that's cherry picking really. From what I saw though, Smith Rowe had a great game, clinical finish with his goal, and I still forever love the legs of Traore, and I think it's good that he is in the starting 11 rather than coming on as a sub. But yeah, he had a great assist. And again, with the second goal from Iwobi, very similar to the one that Smith Rowe had, I thought, with the Robinson assist and how they had the legs and the pace running up the field and just burying it in the goal. I loved it.
Yeah, I think they've similar styles. I think the first goal, if we talk about, we'll break it down just a little bit. The play was very, very good. I think that you know, I think the play was quite good. The build-up play, I think we had some really brave play by Muniz. Obviously, he gets fouled, but we get a good bit of refereeing and he plays advantage. Traore, running at the Leicester defence, they split because of it, and then obviously the good through ball to Emma Smith Rowe, who you know, with a quality finish. I think he takes it down. And I think I knew as soon as he sort of had that ball under control in the box, he was going to score. It was one of those ones that he's got real good quality, Emma Smith Rowe, and I think he's shown it in the first 2 games. I can't wait to see him when he's fit and he can fully fit and fully fire in. AJ, I want to ask, in viewing the view of the game, what do you think of Emma Smith Rowe? How he's fitted in? How he's sort of partnering up with a couple of the players. It's exciting. How do you feel about it?
It's early doors for me. It's exciting to see. I think in terms of his movement and the way he passes the ball, there's a little bit more still to be desired. But I think that comes from, as you said, he's not 100% match fit yet. But the fact that if we're including the friendlies, he's scored what 3 times in 4 games now, or something like that. It's clear that he's in a positive mental state and he's clearly working hard. I think there's more to come from him, but it's exciting to see someone that's as direct as he is, and someone that hopefully will also start creating more opportunities as well as just taking them.
Yeah, but personally for me, I think that his partnership with Alex Iwobi, you can tell that they've played football with each other before from a young age. They sort of constantly seemed to be they were looking for each other, almost constantly, almost looking for each other as an outball for themselves. And I think Robinson actually is also fitted quite well in there. I think as a three, their partnership is started as a three, but their partnership started really, really well. It's early doors still. They're still learning each other, like natural positioning and where someone will be naturally. But there was a couple of incidents in the game yesterday where, as an attacking three, I mean, including Robinson joining them, the pace of all three of them really you could feel it, and we did something that we I don't think we've done in a long time yesterday uh, at the game, which was I felt like we broke with pace, and like you can see there was an idea of attacking rather than just someone's getting the ball. Okay, where am I going to pass? Where am I going to pass? It's sort of there was some instinct there about where the other person's going to be and moving forward, and we haven't seen that from you know a winger and an attacker in quite some time, which is great. The only problem we have still is that our crossing so poor. Again, I don't want to be too negative because we come out of the game with a result, but Robertson and Traore's crossing yesterday again was really below par. But in saying that, I also think that Muniz wasn't really in the box a lot yesterday. I think he was trying to purposely stay out of the box and for the slow build up and the push through. So it's one of those that you can't cross to somebody if they're not there. So it is one of those things with that. Sticking with the positives and looking at the game, we're going to talk about the Leicester goal because it's a positive for me in the sense of the goal was given. I know there's an awful lot of people, a lot of Fulham fans that were a bit annoyed that it wasn't given after being ruled out for offside, but we spoke a bit off air, AJ. We're in agreement that you don't want to see those disallowed because there isn't a clear offside. I think Vardy's clearly making his way out of the way. Leno, if anything, is probably trying to make the most of Vardy being there, and if he wasn't, he may have had a better chance of saving the ball. The only real disappointment for me is that Diop seemed to be marking three Leicester players. But the positive from that is I don't think we let our heads drop from it. There wasn't Leicester scored, but we were in complete control of that, in control of that the rest of that half. And I think that was the way we moved forward. Mozza, I know that you, from watching the game, would have seen the offside goal. Me and AJ spoke about it off air, but what were your thoughts on it? Were you, for a footballing point of view, do you think the goal should have stood?
I think the ref made the right decision. It's a bit of a tough one to call, and obviously we can be biased, and Leicester fans will be biased as well. But at the end of the day, it was the right call for me. A little bit of a scare defensive wise. Even with the actual goal that was given, that we did concede, set piece again. It's a lesson to be learned, but these things happen. But at the end of the day, for me, it was the right call.
Yeah, I think me and AJ we're in agreement with that. Second half, we started so positive in that second half again, just like the Man United game the week before. We came out really, really pressing Leicester in the second half. We had that chance quite early on in the second half where Muniz probably should have at least got a shot on target after we put a lot of pressure on Leicester trying to play it out from the back. And then we won the ball back. We had a lot of control in that second half. I know the possession basis of the game were I think we had 55%, Leicester had 45%, but an awful lot of Leicester's possession was in that like first third of the pitch for them. AJ, are you pleased to see us taking the game to teams when we're playing them at home? Or do you think it's one of those case of because it was a, a Leicester, not a Man United, that we did it? What do you think?
I think it's important from a management perspective to play against the team you're up against, and not like go with a one style fits all. We've been bitten before by trying to do that under the likes of Jokanovic, etc., where we try and have one footballing style against everybody, and it doesn't always work. I like that Marco Silva is willing to adapt to who he happens to be playing on any particular week. But yes, if there's means to get out a team and make it difficult for them and hold up the ball and play possession style football and make it so that they're more inclined to make a mistake because they've seen very little of the ball, absolutely play that way. Play that way as much as you can do. I think there might be some teething pains for us this season where we either do that against teams we think we can do that against and we find out we're not as good as we think, or the opposite, where we sit back against teams we probably shouldn't do, that we might actually be better than. But I think it'll be a very exciting season for us to see where we go with what is an adapting style of football under Marco Silva.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think that's a great point, especially about having the ability to change your style depending on who you're playing with and against. I'd be quite interested to see how we set up on against Birmingham in the cup on Tuesday. Obviously, we'll talk about that in our next episode when we preview that game. But I think that there's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how we sort of look into that. Looking at the rest of the second half, there's a really nice moment in the second half when Leicester made a substitution and took off Bobby Decordova-Reid, who got, I think, the reception he deserved from Fulham fans. We've all on this podcast, have been admirers of his versatility, and he's been a great servant for Fulham. It was a bit odd yesterday seeing him play against us, but um, Mozza, how do you feel about the reception he got going off? I think he looked a bit embarrassed himself to getting it, but I think he deserved it. Um, how do you feel about it?
I think he deserved it. It's always an awkward one as well, and it would have been more awkward if he'd scored against us, which he loves doing against his former clubs, doesn't he? But yeah, I'd give him a clap. I've got a problem with us being too loving to former players that have gone, and that just comes from complete rivalry, which is absolutely tribal for me. But I hold no ill will towards Bobby Reid, and I'm just glad he didn't get a goal against us. But yeah, he's going to feel embarrassed, isn't he? You're in your own ground that's been familiar to you for, what was he with us for? 4 or 5 years, not longer, 4.5. There you go. So yeah, fair play to him, and I wouldn't have wanted to come on and have the crowd boo him. So don't get me wrong on that one, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I said it last week, didn't I? That it'd be nice if he gets taken off with 3-0 up and he gets a reception and we're all comfortably sat there. But alas, that wasn't the case. It was at quite a moment in the game where tensions were starting to build a bit in the stadium because it was getting on a bit and we were struggling to score that second goal. We made a few substitutions ourselves. We took off Traore and took off Emma Smith Rowe and brought on Kearney and Wilson. Um, AJ, how do you feel about those subs? Are you happy that we have those players to bring on and swap around? Would you like to see a bit more, depth there in order to maybe have some more options in that case? I know there was a few people around me in the stadium yesterday that didn't really want Tom Kenny to come on as early as he did, but I thought he came on and changed a bit of the game. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm just going to touch on Bobby Decordova-Reid for a quick second. Not
Yeah,
to
you do
sorry
that.
to
You
go
do that.
sorry to go back for that. And very briefly, it's just that there was room for sentiment because of the time he came off the pitch, and as you said, Moz, the fact that he hadn't scored, and the fact I think we were leading when he came off, which is a reason that he probably got a decent sentiment. However, there was clearly no room for sentiment in terms of Ryan Sessegnon case because I think we were all very hopeful that one of the substitutions that could have come on would have been him to liven up those attacking forces into the late game. And I just don't think it was going to happen. I think maybe Marco Silva sees him as a covering left back as opposed to a forward option, but we'll have to wait and see. But it would have been really nice to see our first home game of the season with some minutes, even if it was right at the death for Ryan Sessegnon, but we weren't so lucky. Onto your question in terms of the substitutions, I was actually keen for Kenny to start this game. Actually, not that not that I think Pereira or Emil Smith Rowe did poorly, and Lukic was an absolute certain to start because he's our only sort of true defensive-minded midfielder outside of Harrison Reed at the moment. But it would have I would have thought Kenny might have started this game actually just because of his controlling nature and the way he manages the ball, and it would have been perfect to manage the ball against Leicester and dominate that midfield. It turned out Lukic didn't need the help doing that. He did it perfectly fine on his own. So yeah, I don't think Kenny's a bad player to have come off of the bench at all. I like him a lot. We all love him as a captain. His legs have gone a little bit, so you do need to be careful about the players he goes up against in that midfield. He's not tracking back as much as he is. When he's standing his ground to intercept the ball, he's a couple of yards off of where he should be nowadays. That's just life catching up with him. But I was very happy to see him come on. I think he did a good job when he did. The other substitution was whom? Sorry, remind me.
It was Wilson for Traore.
I think Wilson did well when he came on.
Yeah,
I
no,
think he
I do
did.
too. Yeah.
I think he did very well. I'd still like to see him sort of in and around that 10 as opposed to out on the right hand side. I think he's a little bit too predictable for the Premier League in terms of I'm going to cut in on my left. Um, but yeah, I like both substitutions. I think he did well. I think they were both at decent times in the game. They weren't held off too late. And I think all in all, we were pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also agree about Ryan Sessegnon. It would have been nice to get him on, just for the sentimental approach. We're all about. I think Marco's trying to build his confidence back up again before he starts giving him minutes in the Premier League, and it would have been a great boost to have him on. I think at the time, if we were winning the game a bit more comfortably, he probably would have come on. But obviously, because you're only allowed to make subs in three stops for your five subs. I think at the time when the last sub was made and Harrison Reed came on, I think it was just it was probably the game was just a bit too tight to bring Ryan on. But it would. I agree. It would have been nice for the sentimental reasons for him to come on and at least got that reception he probably needed. Although he did get quite a few quite big receptions when he came out to warm up, which I think was appreciated. And we'll go for that. Let's talk about the winning goal quickly before we go on to talk about a man of the match. It was a smart move, I think. Leno playing the ball out, quick ball from Tom to Robinson, who played a lovely turning pass through to Iwobi, who managed to run onto it really really well, kept up his pace going through, and then quite probably a little bit of a fortunate finish in the sense of it hits the keeper. The keeper probably could have done a bit better, but it trickled in. I'm really, really happy Iwobi's still scoring goals. I really like Alex Iwobi. I think he's a really good signing for us, and the longer he keeps up this little scoring run he has, I know, especially at home, the better. Because I think when he plays with a smile on his face, we definitely get a lot better out of him. Mozza, just quickly before we go on to man of the match, are you happy to see him playing so well? I think that it's a good thing. But what about you?
Yeah, I think it's testament to his sharpness and overall persistence. I know he didn't have the perfect game, but he's got the winning goal and he's got us 3 points overall for me. I know it's a team effort, but he's done the job. And I've always been a fan of him since he was at Arsenal, Everton, and I was over the moon when he joined for us. So I'm glad to see him scoring goals. I love the way he dribbles and keeps the pace on the ball. I can't say any more. Love the guy.
Cool. That's perfect. Okay, so let's go. We'll end this episode, but before we do that. I want to get your votes on man of the match. AJ, who do you think was man of the match from the game yesterday?
I think there's a few options, but my resounding player is Sasa Lukic. I think he absolutely controlled that midfield. He made it look effortless as well, unlike shades of Paulinho, where it always he was obviously we all know how good Paulinho was and how much we loved him, but he always made it look like hard work because he was so intense in the way he won the ball back. Sasa Lukic, the complete opposite, won the ball back without even thinking about winning the ball back, sort of thing, intercepting the ball and then controlling that midfield. My easy man of the match for me.
I think I agree with most of that. Mozza, what about yourself? Who would be your vote for man of the match?
It's the obvious choice, but it will be Emil Smith-Rowe. I think he's hit the ground running coming in here and got the opening goal, and I think that just spurred everyone on, had a massive influence on the rest of the team.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think for myself, I'm caught between two minds from yesterday's game. I think the two standout players for me were Sasha Lukic and actually Issa Diop. You know, everyone, especially you guys know, I am petrified every time I say Issa Diop on the pitch, but I thought he played really, really well yesterday. You know, it's quite funny for me that the two players that are probably in the most danger of losing their starting positions in the squad, with the two signings that were made during the week last week coming in, probably were two of the biggest players in the game for me yesterday. I think Lukic did his job yesterday almost effortlessly. There was no loss of control. He just looked like he was always in control of the situation. You know, he plays quite a calm manner. He's not, as AJ said, he's not frantic. There's no, desperation in tackles. He looks quite calm and complacent and complacent with that. That he's not complacent because of that. And I thought Diop was really, really good yesterday in the sense of his position. I think he was a bit unlucky with the corner that Leicester scored from because he was marking three men by himself. But ultimately, I agree with AJ, and I think the man of the match should be Lukic. I think he really controlled that midfield yesterday. And again, it's just another game from him where he really, really impressed. So I think our man of the match will probably be Sasha Lukic. So uh, we'll go with that. Um, Guys, join us a bit later this afternoon. We're going to have another episode out as we try and get around this quick turnaround before our game with Birmingham or in the cup on Tuesday. Please hit that like and subscribe button and share amongst your Fulham mates, which really really will help us get this show growing. Until then, come on, you whites.